Hello folks, welcome back to our Appalachian adventure. About a week and a half into this grand month-long adventure, we find ourselves exiting the state we spent a few days in, West Virginia, and now we enter the state of Virginia, the Old Dominion. We've been here before, and it's great to be back, although the last time we actually visited Virginia was months ago, and this isn't even part of the region that we've ever really explored. We're in a new region of Virginia. This is the westernmost region called Southwest Virginia, or also known as the Virginia Highlands. Now, if you look at Virginia on a map, you'll notice that there's this big, long western panhandle, and that's exactly where we are. Now, this is the one part of Virginia that wasn't originally looked at and developed in those early colonial days. It was more of a frontier land, and it makes sense because this is the highest point of Virginia, surrounded on all sides by the grand Appalachian Mountains. Oh, there's some wolves there. I'll get to that in a minute with the wolves. But yeah, this is a very isolated part of Virginia, full of farmlands where there can be farmland, and the rest is just mountains. So where are we in Southwest Virginia? Well, we're in a small town called Abingdon. A nice look at this waterfall, which also has some wolves on it. And this sign has some wolves on it too, or a wolf. What's with all the wolves here in Abingdon? So the story goes that right when this region of Virginia was first starting to be explored, most famously by the Frontiersmen, Daniel Boone, who was famous more so for exploring Kentucky, but he also did a lot of hunting in this area of the Virginia Highlands. And in these mountains, his dogs, used for hunting, got attacked by a bunch of wolves, and thus he called this region the Wolf Hills. And that's sort of the culture of this area around Abingdon. So it kind of makes sense that the wolves are there. I think there was some art exposition and they made a bunch of statues and designs with these wolves to celebrate the history of the Wolf Hills. So first being set up as a fort to protect the first European settlers, this place, Abingdon, was later turned into a little bit of a trade center. They utilized the already existing Native American trails that were there because they were used as a great passageway to the southern part of the country, and also one of those few passageways that led people from the East Coast to the West, to the great frontier at the time. Obviously, from the looks of this little small town, it's very historic. You see a lot of brick and stone buildings, and that's always an indicator of the time in which the place was built. Nowadays, there's more of an artsy, creative scene here in Abingdon. Wait a minute, do I hear a train? Oh yeah, I do. And it's not this one, stationary. It's this one. Right. Of course, we're here in the Appalachian Mountains, and so it's the perfect area where trains can whip on by, curving through the mountain passes to get one part of the country to the other. The last campground I stayed at on this adventure, if you don't know, I stay at campgrounds, not hotels when I'm traveling. That last campground I was in, right near New River Gorge National Park, right by a railroad, which had train after train after train going through late at night. Almost impossible to sleep through it. Luckily, I got some sleep. Courthouse right here for Washington County. That's the county we are in Virginia. All right. This is the nature stuff. Welcome to the Virginia Creeper Trail. This goes about 35 miles from here, so I'm not going to do the whole thing, of course. It would waste my time and my energy, but I could explain a little bit as we walk this, I don't know, first half of a mile. So this used to be a railroad where we're on. And this railroad connected right here, Abingdon, Virginia, to Damascus, Virginia. The railroad supplied coal and iron from these Appalachian Mountains. We're actually not too far away from the North Carolina border as it is right now, but at the other end of this Virginia Creeper Trail, oh, you're very, very close to the North Carolina border. Why is it called the Virginia Creeper Trail? Well, I guess originally during the railroad times, it sort of described how the train was moving. At times, you had these sharp curves, and so you could really only go very, very slow speeds with this train. So it creeped along. Around this Abingdon area, it seems like it's pretty heavily used. I've seen cross-country teams in middle or high school to just general people wanting to get a good exercise. And then you could also bike here. And interestingly enough, you could take your horse here if you have a horse and ride it along this Virginia Creeper Trail. I would suggest stopping at Abingdon first if you're willing to do the 35-mile thing, going downhill, because if you start on the other side, oh, you're gonna have to get up around 300 feet over these several miles of walkable space. And along the way you can see these beautiful sights of the Virginia countryside. And right now I think we're looking at some stable or farm. A good taste of southwestern rural Virginia here in the mountains. The overhead trees and vines and leaves. A perfect site for this area. There's one more place that we must see before we leave Abingdon. Huh, that's interesting. I thought I'd only see these things in England. It's actually kind of spacious in here. Oh, you can hear my echo, but yeah, here's the latest. So I wanted to do something, which I'm not going to reveal, of course, but that can't be. It's too late. They closed. Let me tell you how this works when I travel from one place to another. So I'll just take today for example. I started in southern West Virginia. It takes me 3.5 hours to get to my campground in the middle of eastern Tennessee. Then I have to go all the way up. It takes about 1.5 hours just to get up to the proxy location. Today's location being Abingdon, Virginia. And that's the best with travel I can do. So unless I wake up at 5 in the morning, which I'm not going to do unless the world's ending. Actually, no, I'd probably sleep through it, but you get the point. Unless I'm waking up really, really early, there is just no way, under any effort, that I can make every place on time sometimes. So, here's the thing. It's not just that I'm going to cancel this little thing. It's actually quite a big area nearby. So I'll go to this place first, and then later that day I'll go to the next actual location. It's going to be a busy day, but it's worth it for the sake of the coverage project and getting all those locations down. So with that said, being in this British-style telephone booth here in Abingdon, Virginia, more travels to come. I will see you at the next location. Oh my goodness, fresh air.